It is very, very extremely well done in my opinion. I enjoyed every single moment of it, and now I'm thinking about checking out the other works of this author. Hello beautiful besties, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are having a great day so far, and today we are here to talk about my April wrap-up. I'm going to talk about all the books that I read in the past month, give you my thoughts, my reviews, and recommend books that I loved. The first two books you already know, I read them because you've seen them in the vlog. If you want to have more like indeed, not too much in detail, but more of a live reaction, you can go watch my daily vlog, reading vlog number 1, because in that vlog I read the sequel to The Empire of the Vampire. But before that, in the beginning of April, I read the first book, Empire of the Vampire, and let me tell you, when I first did my April TBR, I was like, no way, I'm going to read only one book because these are tomes. These are big books. So I was like, I will read Empire of the Vampire this month and pick up Empire of the Damned in May. But the temptation was too strong. I couldn't resist. These are 6-star books. These are so good. These are among the best books I have ever read in my whole entire life. I love these. I love them so much. The story is so unique. I love the characters. I love the way it was told through the interview. I love the sarcasm, dark humor, the action, the banter, the friendship, the found family, everything. I love these books so much. I highly recommend, if you can tolerate a little bit of, not a little bit, gruesomeness, and like, as I said before, these are, I mean, horrible things happen. These are very straightforward books. Like, the author doesn't pull any punches, all right? You have to take it. Everything that's in here is a bit like, not a bit, it is visceral. So yeah, that is warning number 1. I was hesitating if I want to talk about these because I talked about them in that vlog, and I said that I love them so much, but I just wanted to add some specific things that I adored about these books. So as I said, that was warning number 1, that the content in these books is very mature. These are adult, very mature content in here. So keep that in mind if you decide to pick these up. But like, this story is so worth it. So good. And the second thing that I wanted to mention is the difference between these two. Book 1 was, of course, an introduction to the characters, to the world, to the vampire houses, to the dynamics between the characters. We get to get attached to them and love them and follow their story, their history. Not everything, of course. We still have a lot of secrets in this book that we will uncover in this one. That was book 1. Book 2, we get a lot more history about the world itself and the origin of the realms, and how the houses started, and the war between the houses, the vampire houses, and like basically a lot of history about the vampire politics and the background of their relationships and whatnot. I liked that. I thought it was a very interesting angle to just look at it from not the point of view, but look at it from their perspective a little bit. And we also get introduced to another POV in the story, another person in this interview, because these are told via an interview. Gabriel is a silver saint. He's like a vampire killer warrior, and he got caught by vampires, by a vampire queen, and now he's telling the story. And we get another POV in the second book. So good. I will keep saying that. So Gabriel, in this book, we can say that he's fighting 2 battles. His first battle is against vampires, and he's trying to end Day's death. Did I mention Day's death? Day's death in these books, I mean, the sun does not come out anymore. or like there is a little bit of sunlight, but it is so minimal, and it has been like that for years and years. So like the plants died. You can imagine no sunlight, the repercussions of that on the world. So he's fighting against vampires and tries to end Day's death. And the second battle that he's fighting, you will notice it that he's fighting the battle inside himself against the monster that is within him. So it doesn't get a hold of him because he's a Silver Saint, which means that he's half human, but also half vampire. I thought that his character was so unique, and I loved following him around. He lived through so much hardship during his childhood, and then we see him grow and become this hero warrior. They named him the Black Lion, and became basically this legend. And then when he grew up, he also went through some serious tough time and horrible tragedies, and still after all that he still has the strength to continue fighting, to keep going, to try to make it better for other people. And when he's completely broken in the inside and out, I mean, these battles are brutal. And he still says to the vampire interviewing him, he's a historian, his name is Jean-Francois, and he still tells him that I am no hero. I am no hero in this story, because he does also horrible things, but you see that he does them for the greater good, or he does them to protect his friends, or like he doesn't, I mean, because when you do a thing, I mean, this is also a question that popped in my head, like these books also are questioning, when you do a horrible thing, but you do it for a good purpose, or you do it to protect a friend or to protect your family, does that make you a monster? These books are also about that. But his character, I just loved how J. Kristoff built this person. I just loved how he's so real, you know, filled with all these contradictions, and we get attached to him for that, because he feels so human. I loved Gabriel's character so much. And of course, I cannot mention these without mentioning Dior. Dior's character is the personification of hope in the story, and how the relationship started antagonistic and how it grew into like this very unique, I don't want to say anything because I want you to experience it like I did. It grows into something very unique. I love their banter, their interactions. I loved Phoebe too. Oh my God, I told you about Phoebe. The banter is a chef's kiss, as one of the most beautiful things in these books. Everything is beautiful in these books, except for the horrible things that are happening. And I also noticed that family is one of the most important themes in these books. Not only human families, but vampire families too. You can see that a lot of wars and a lot of battles are fueled by vengeance. And you can see that either it is a human family or a vampire family, they can fight, they can quarrel, they can have like great disputes. But if something happens to one of them, then you've awakened the beast. Who can be a father, who can be a sibling, who can be a partner, no matter who he is, they can fight in among themselves, but an outsider that comes and like pokes the bear, then you will hear from them. That thing also I loved a lot about these books, that monsters or humans, both of them value family the most. Family is number one for them. And also by that, I don't mean the blood link family, but also the found family, because these people will do everything and anything to protect the people they love. The found family aspect in these books is so well done. I love them so much. Highly recommend. As I said, warning, but I have no words. So good. Extremely well done. I love them, and I'm impatiently waiting for the third book to come out. I just wanted to talk a little bit more about them, you know, because I know that I talked about them in the vlog, but I had some points in my head that I wanted to mention. And now that I mentioned them, let's move on to the second book. I mean, it's not the second book because I read the first book, Empire of the Vampire, and then I took a pause. I read, I think, 2 books after it. And then I read Empire of the Damned because I couldn't. The head, the world, the world stuck in my head. I was just Empire of the Vampire the whole day. I was dreaming about the book. So I was like, no, I need to continue on with the story because I'm just obsessed with it. So yeah, and I cannot wait to reread them, to be honest. I want to experience them again. So yeah, moving on to the next book. Let me stop talking about these. I can just make a whole video about them, all right? Moving on, I read the X-Talk. There it is. I read the X-Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This was a great read after, when did I read this? I read this book after I read Empire of the Damned, and to be honest, when I finished Empire of the Damned, I didn't want to pick up another book. I was like, it wasn't a reading slump or anything, but I wanted to stay in that vibe, in that world, in my mind for a little bit longer, like a few days, just, I don't know, thinking about it, like absorbing all the information or like remembering the events. But I was like, no, because maybe that will lead to a reading slump and maybe I want to reread those books again, and I have a TBR to finish. So I started this book against my wishes and I ended up loving it. I mean, at the beginning, I was a bit reluctant. I was like, okay. They work at a radio station and he's the new guy, Dominic, and Shay, she's been there since she's 19 and now she's, I think, 29. And he's the new guy with a master's degree in journalism and he's like 24. So she's older than him. So she was a bit, they are a bit rivals, you can say. I don't know, not exactly rivals, but I mean, you can say that. She's just jealous that he got all the attention and like more love from the staff and from the boss and stuff like that. And then there is like financial problems that happen with the radio station and they ask them to come up with ideas. So Shay suggests the X-Talk, the show where 2 exes talk about problems and couples. So the boss thinks, okay, since you two already hate each other or like despise each other because they know that they have this back and forth clashing between one another, you are perfect for this position. So yeah, either you do that or you are fired because we don't have the finances anymore. So she convinces him. He didn't want it at first, but she convinces him to do it and they start doing this show together and they start, of course, get to know one another better because they sit there and prepare the show. They went outside to like coffees, restaurants, and they get to know more about each other and they start falling for each other, of course. So I loved the forced proximity. I loved that it is not a fake dating trope, but it's a fake breaking up trope. I don't know, because they faked that they were in a relationship before and now they are exes and talking on this show. So yeah, I loved it. It was very enjoyable. I loved that Shay was the older one. I loved that Dominic had, I think, a Korean mother. He was like half American, half Korean. I imagined him like a Korean idol, to be honest. Think V from BTS. Yes, that because he's my favorite member. Or Jungkook, if you prefer. Or like, I imagined him from like a K-pop band. But the only thing I thought it was missing is Dominic POV, because from the beginning you can see that Shay, I mean, she's jealous of him, but she knows that he's attractive, that he knows how to speak, that he has everyone like under his charm. He's charming. He's charming and he's handsome. And like she thought that like he has it all figured out, you know, and she was jealous of that. So I wanted to know, I was curious in the beginning of the book when we were getting her POV, what he thought about her, because we didn't get his inner thoughts. So I was curious about that. I wish we had a dual POV, even if it's not chapter by chapter, even if we get a little bit small glimpses about what Dominic thought of her in the beginning of the book. But we get it later, I think, when they start talking. He starts, of course, saying that how he found her like beautiful and stuff like that. So yeah, very enjoyable. I highly recommend it if you went through something like Empire of the Vampire, you want a fun read, this is perfect for that. Okay, next up. Okay, the sun is playing tricks on me. I don't accept it. Okay, I hope this is better. I went and like covered the window a little bit. So as I was saying, the next book was Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. If you follow me on Goodreads, you already know that I didn't, unfortunately, I say this with a lot of sadness because The Infernal Devices is one of my favorite fantasy series of all time. I loved that series so much. It ripped my heart to pieces and I love it to death. This unfortunately didn't do it for me. If you ask me what the plot of the book is, your guess is as good as mine. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Because we had 600 something pages. 604. 604 pages of world building, characters. And when I say world building, it was a lot of world building and people's names and people's titles. I mean, she hits you from the beginning of the book. They were sitting on a table and it was like ambassadors and kings and queens and blah, blah, blah. And the land of, I don't know, spices and the land of, I don't know. And it was a lot. And then they kept coming and like, of course we follow our main characters, but like the lore and the history and everything at the same time. And my mind was spinning. I was like, okay. When are we going to get some rest? Give me a little bit of like what is happening here in Castellane. And I just refuse. I just refuse to make this my homework. I refuse to get a pen and paper and start taking notes of everyone's kingdom and name and their relationship with Castellane. I was like, we will figure it out later. We usually do. And one more thing, yes, I want to mention, for the people that say this resembles the Shades of Magic series by V.E. Schwab, no, absolutely not. Except for the sword catcher here, his name is Kel, and we have Kel in our beloved series. So, except for that, I mean, and here Kel is short for Kellyan. No, nothing at all. Magic system, everything, world building, everything, nothing plot. No way. I know the plot of those books. I don't know this plot. Because we got a lot of, as I said, a lot of information and less, it was so slow. It was so slow. It really pains me to say it. It really hurts me to say it because Cassandra Clare, she's a very good writer and I know she's huge. I mean, but oh my God, I hate to say it, but I was bored. And to be honest with you, I thought about DNF in it at like 60% or 70%. But then I thought about the too many copies I own of this book. I have too many copies to DNF this book. So I was like, I'm going to give it a chance until the last word, until the last page. I want to love it. I want to love it. So yeah, I kept reading and I thought maybe something will happen that will pique my interest and I will say, here we go. This story has begun and here we go. Yeah, something happened. You know when? In the last 20 pages. Exactly. Maybe here. Something happened here. I mean, we have a sword catcher. He's the bodyguard of the prince. He's his doppelganger. And like when you read like that, ooh, you're like, yes, we are going to get some fighting scenes. He's going to be a badass. And we get to see the battles and the schemings and like, we go through the whole thing and we see him in action, I think one time, maybe when something happens. I don't wanna spoil it for you, but like something happens and like it's a tiny one instance, maybe two, and yeah, I mean very tiny things happen in those instances. So. But Lynn's character saved the book for me. I loved her. I mean, saved it. Small save. I loved her. I loved her character. I loved her story. She's an Ashkar. They have a history, the history of their people. They are like cast away, people that had magic before. They had a queen. They were thriving and then something happened and they got cast away and they are like, they live in Castellane, but they live like very secluded. They live in here. I'm going to show you the map. This is Castellane and they live here in the salt. And as you can see, there is like a wall surrounding them and they have their own rules about like they have curfew and they cannot go outside and just... They are not respected. They cannot go outside whenever they want. And they are not respected. They are despised. And you can say like people also are a bit afraid of them because they have not bits of magic left in them. They can do like, she's a physician and she tries to help people with the bits that she has to help them cure their diseases, to help them speed up their healing. And even though she's trying to help people, people still look at them with hate and I don't know, some like, and suspicion, you can say. And of course, something happens to Kel and Lynn gets invited to the castle and she gets entangled in Kel and Connor's life. Connor is the prince. And as I said, I loved her. I thought she was the only fiery character in the story. And there were also two gang lords, you can say, the Ragpicker King and Prosper Beck. And when they got introduced, I was like, oh my God, great. We are going to get double the action, double the scheming. Guess what? Nope. Yes, you are right. Nope. They turned out to be more of a diplomatic gang lords, more about talking. To be honest, I don't know if I'm going to continue on with the series at this point. I mean, we got a lot of world building in the first book, so maybe finally in the second book we are going to get more plot and more action? Question mark? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. 3 copies, 4 copies. I really do hope I love the second book. That's the only thing I hope for my mental health because I bought 4 copies. I really do hope I love the second book. I'm not going to continue on collecting the whole series. Of course, I think I told you in my reorganization video, because I don't know, maybe it's a trilogy, maybe more. I think it is going to be a trilogy. I don't know. But I don't think I'm going to be collecting. Let me see. I forgot I mean, this looks absolutely stunning. It's such a shame. It's such a shame. It is stunning. I love the stenciling on this. The character art. Did I show you? It is also hand signed. So, I don't know, I thought about continuing on with, because I love the original cover too, with Waterstones and, I was going to say fake rate, Fairy Loot, but I love the Illumicrate. I don't know at this point. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on, forget about this and go into a book that I loved so much. A Fate Inked in Blood saved me. A Fate Inked in Blood. I loved this book by Danielle L. Jensen. This is her new, the new book and her new adult, it's not a new adult, it's an adult fantasy series, but it's new. And this is a Norse-inspired fantasy romance, and we follow Freya. Freya had a secret. She has powers given to her by a goddess. She's a shield maiden, and that means that she can repel every attack done either like physically or like by magical powers. She can repel them. She's a shield. So, and she can protect herself, but also protect the people around her. And she gets entangled in a union with a power-hungry Jarl that she hates, and he just wants her for her power. He just wants her to become even more powerful. And he assigns his son, Björn, to be his bodyguard. And Björn has magic of his own. He's also blessed by another god, and he has fire magic. He has this fire hammer that he can conjure. And they're dynamic, and their story. I mean, it isn't enemies to lovers to, I don't know, but it is so good. From the first chapter, I kid you not, I'm so happy that I own this copy because I'm in love with this book. Look at her. From, did I say hammer? His axe. He has an axe. Chapter 1. From chapter 1, I was hooked. I loved how it was so refreshing that we didn't get any world building, extra names, extra things that I don't want to read now because I just started the story. We get thrust into the action from the beginning. We get to see Freya in action from the beginning. We get to see how fierce she is, how she's like, she has a very strong personality. I loved her fierceness from the beginning, and I loved Björn from the beginning, and like we get that small interaction, and I enjoyed this book so much. It was so refreshing. And like, we get to the point from the beginning. It hooked me, and I was like, okay, now build on it. Now just, of course, we need to know what the world is like, what the politics are like. And now you have me, now you get to build on that. Now I am ready to listen and to absorb all the information that you are going to give me, because I'm in love with these characters now. You know, when I say a book has an explosive ending, this had both. Explosive beginning, the action from the beginning, the things that happen in the beginning, you're like, what? From the beginning, I'm telling you, read this book. This deserves all the hype in the world. I loved it so much. I loved the banter, the humor, the sarcasm. I was laughing out loud at the interactions between Freya and Björn. The tension, the spice. a chef's kiss, everything, the build-up. And I also enjoyed the beautifully described Norse mythology elements too. It was just so beautiful to read. And yeah, I devoured this book. This is definitely one very solid first installment. I cannot wait for the rest of the series. I am so invested in Björn and Freya's story. I loved it. I loved it. Deserves all the hype. Read this. Okay, next up, I read this cutie right here. I read Do Your Worst by Rosie, Denan, and this was a contemporary romance with paranormal elements thrown in there. There is like a curse happening in this castle, and she's a curse breaker and he's an archaeologist, and they clash because he's like, he does not believe in this stuff, and she's like, of course it exists, curses exist. So yeah, I loved their back and forth. I loved the dynamic. It was cute. It was a cute, fun romance. The spice was good. I loved how they stood up for each other at the end of the book. I loved it so much, how he defended her and how she defended him. I enjoyed finding all the clues to solve the mystery of the cursed castle and following them around the haunted area, the haunted castle, and how they slowly started to fall for each other. It was so cute. The banter, humor, it is there too. So yeah, it is a cute, fun read. Recommend if you want something light, fun, this is it. Next up, I picked up The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. In this story, we follow Mina, and she throws herself into the sea instead of her brother's fiance, and because they just throw a maiden into the sea to appease the deadly storms that like attack their village every now and then. And she finds out that the sea god is sleeping. And the story starts from there because she wants to wake the sea god and stop the storms. I think the best words that describe this book is that it was a very delightful, enchanting Korean folklore fairy tale. I love discovering the world, going around with Mina, the world under the sea, with her group of friends. I enjoyed the fairy tale overall. It was charming, the characters were lovable, and yeah, I had a great time. It's not like the best book that you will read in your life ever, but if you are in a mood for like a very charming fairy tale that will transport you, that is like so beautiful to just be in and like watch and witness and be a part of, this is for you. It is a solid standalone fantasy, I would say. And I also read Wild Love by Elsie Silver. Oh my God. When I tell you, read this book, read this book. I mean, you know me, I'm so happy that to be honest, I'm so grateful for you guys. I love you so much. You pushed me to read more genres. I mean, I always tell myself, I want to read more contemporary romance. I want to read more thrillers. I want to read more like mysteries, cozy mysteries, stuff like that. But I don't do it. You know, you want it, but you don't do it. You know how to get there, but you don't do it. That's me. I stick to my fantasies. But I'm so grateful that you pushed me and I pushed myself to do it for you guys, and now I'm so grateful for it because this is so good. Wild Love is so good. Oh my God. Imagine, first of all, Ford, the main male character, he's named Forbes World's Hottest Billionaire. Okay? So you get to picture him. And we have Rosie. She's just like a firecracker. She's fiery and like lively, and I love her so much. I love her comebacks. I love like the banter made this book what it is. And Cora, the 12-year-old emo teen, she's like, imagine like knocking on his door and I was like, hey, are you Ford? Yes. Okay, I'm your daughter. And he's like, what? Imagine that situation. In this like farm, secluded area, I don't know, farm-like setting with like mountains and everything. And the setting was so romantic, that they are away from the city. I loved that. Rosie, I mentioned Rosie, but I didn't mention she's also his best friend's little sister. So, you know, there is a bit of situation there. And the pining, he was pining for her for his entire life. Like, he always had a crush on her. She was always the most beautiful girl, the most beautiful woman he has ever seen. And she never knew about it. But he was there for her from the beginning, and we get to see it when she remembers. And seriously, the story was so good, especially when they started sending emails to each other back and forth in the office. Oh my God, I was laughing out loud. And please, if you pick this up, I hope you didn't yet, because you need the audio. The audiobook is done by two narrators, Vanessa Edwin and Zachary Weber. They done the most amazing job just bringing these characters to life, and like their voices, everything, the voice acting is so good. I didn't want to stop listening to this audio. It was wonderfully done, exceptional. I love this book so much. If you want to laugh out loud, if you want pining and tension and hot spice, yes, read this. Yes, read this book. It was so good. It was so good. I'm going to stop. And now I'm kind of thinking about her other books. I know she has the Chestnut Spring series. I know about it. Don't worry. I know a lot of people love it. I didn't read it. But now I'm thinking, maybe I'm missing out. Maybe there is something there with Elsie Silver, because this was a chef's kiss. So good. Again. Next up, the next up, I read it before Wild Love, The New Couple in 5B. You've seen me talk about it in my May Reset vlog. And I also mentioned that I am going to read Wild Love after I finish it, because it was a bit spooky. But yeah, I ended up loving both of these. So thank you so much for pushing me to read more genres, because these were so good. In this book, we follow a couple. Their name is Chad and Rosie. Rosie too. I was like, is her name Rosie too? Yes, I just checked. Her name is Rosie too. And they inherit a multi-million-dollar condo from Chad's uncle. They took care of Chad's uncle when he was very sick. And when he passed away, he left this luxurious apartment in this luxurious building to them. And Chad is an actor, but like his career has just started, so he's not a famous actor. And Rosie is a thriller author, and they struggle financially. So that when they inherited this apartment, it was like a big surprise to them. They were very happy, because if they sell it, they will get a lot of money. But Chad said, no, we need to move there, and maybe we will get lucky. Our lives will be better, and we can afford staying there, because, you know, the expenses of the apartment. So yeah, so they moved to this apartment, and the first thing that you will notice, the doorman is so weird and suspicious, and you can say a bit creepy, and things start to happen. I don't want to mention a lot of details, because I want you to discover it for yourselves. But it turns out that the building has a dark history. I was on the edge of my seat during this whole book. I was like, a lot of twists and turns, and a lot of things happen that will keep you questioning who you can trust and who you can't. It is definitely a psychological thriller and I got spooked out multiple times. But it will keep you turning the pages, because you want to know. what is going on? What is going on in here? So yeah, I loved it so much. It was a roller coaster, a very unsettling roller coaster, but loved it. It is very extremely well done in my opinion. I enjoyed every single moment of it, and now I'm thinking about checking out the other works of this author because maybe I will like her other books too. So now I'm very much intrigued to see her other works too. So yeah, I'm so happy that I didn't have so many duds during this month, except for that one. But mostly I had a very good reading month. I loved a lot of books that I read this month, all of them. And like finding a 6-star series like Empire of the Vampire was something, all right? So yeah, I'm so happy with my reading during this month. Let me know how your reading was and leave me the vampire emoji. You have to. And if you enjoyed the video, subscribe and join the beautiful, amazing community of book besties here. And until I see you in my next one, bye!